Okay, boxing fans, we've got the battle that you've all been waiting for. Lucas Matthysse, Roberto Ortiz, the battle of the plastic titles. Lucas Matthysse, WBC Continental America's light welterweight champion, versus Roberto Ortiz, the undefeated 31-0 Mexican fighter who holds the WBC silver light welterweight title. Those are titles that you need hanging up on your wall. You got little bits of plastic everywhere, and we're gonna love it. No, seriously, the fight is gonna be, well, Lucas Matthysse never disappoints, and Roberto Ortiz comes to fight. That's all I can really say about this. We've got all the guys here. We've got Rory, we've got Chris Connolly, we've got Paul, and we've got No Holds Boxing. So, firstly, I'm going to start with Rory Paddock. Roberto Ortiz, 31-0. His record's more padded than a jiffy bag. What do you know about this guy?
In 2 words, fuck all. Looking through his record, it's clutching at straws would be the polite way of trying to find out anyone he's actually beaten. I think when we look through it, we recognise one fighter, and that was a very, very intangible link. In all honesty, let's be honest, this guy's coming here for a payday. Don't have a clue who he is. Has a record that, I don't think anyone would be proud of. And that's about it. That's as much as I can tell you about him.
No problem. Paul, what are you saying?
Yeah, I don't know much about him either. I haven't seen him fight. But after looking at his record, he's 31-0. He's not 31-0 for no reason. Obviously, Golden Boy have been building him up on the quiet, to be fair. But he's obviously a prospect, and this is obviously going to be his make or break fight. Golden Boy, I've obviously said to him, okay, we're going to give you a big fight with Matthysse. Go out there and try and make a name for yourself. If you can cause the upset, then you'll get all the headlines and you'll set yourself up for some nice paydays. If you lose, well, oh well, that 31 fights you fought before this, that was all for nothing, because you're not going to go anywhere. So it's all it is, really. It's a showcase fight. It's a chance for Matthysse to entertain people, like he always does, and, continue his comeback after he lost to Danny Garcia. And it's a chance for this Ortiz guy to kind of make a bit of a name for himself, because he's not fought anyone of any note at all in any of his other fights.
That's right, I guess, yeah. Ryan, do you have anything to add to this?
No, I agree. He's just been brought over because it's a stay busy fight, isn't it? When was the last time Matthysse fought? It wasn't too long ago, but I mean, he has had some big fights in recent years, and even the best fighters, even someone like Marquez, has a keep busy fight every now and then. When he fought Fedchenko, which was his only fight between the 3rd and 4th Pacquiao fights, nobody complained about that. So, sometimes guys deserve, an easy night, but then, I'm not sure how frequent Matthysse has been fighting. Seems to be only about twice a year, but then, that seems to be the usual thing nowadays. So I'm not complaining that much, but if he takes several of these fights on the trot, it will get a bit boring. So let's hope after this he gets back to fighting, the top guys again.
Yeah, I agree. Go on, man. Are you going to give us some great insight into Roberto Ortiz?
There's not really much you can say about Ortiz apart from he's a bit of a naughty fighter. He's been told off about headbutting before, and he's been told about use of his elbows, so it could be a bit of a mucky fight. It's probably a bit of a war. Fans like seeing Matthysse in wars, so it's just to keep busy fight for Matthysse, really. Probably lead to a final eliminator after this, so keep him busy fight. Ortiz has got a bit of a record as being a puncher, can be a bit naughty, so it might be a mini war while it lasts.
Yeah, I agree. I think even though we don't know much about Roberto Ortiz, I think it'll just his reputation, as what we can see in his record, suggest it'll come out and be a war, and I'd rather watch a war than a stinker. Yeah. So we'll go to the next question now, Rory. Do you expect this to be a competitive match?
No.
In a word.
But yeah, in a word, no. I think we've all touched upon the fact that this is a stay busy fight for Matthysse. He's got far bigger things ahead of him. he punches like a mule. This guy's not going to have fought anyone like Matthysse with that sort of power. Matthysse will basically finish it when he wants it to finish,
Yeah. Paul, what do you think?
It wouldn't surprise me if it was competitive, because I always seem to... I never seem to be right when I think of Lucas Matthysse. I thought his fight with Peterson would be competitive. It wasn't competitive at all. I didn't think...
Yeah.
I know, don't remind me. I didn't think his fight with Garcia would be competitive. It was absolutely competitive. I didn't think his fight with that Molina guy who he fought a few months ago, I didn't think that would be competitive, and that was fight of the year, quite possibly. So, if we get a repeat of the Molina fight from this guy, Ortiz, because Molina we were thinking of Molina the same way we were thinking of this Ortiz. We didn't know much about him. We thought Matthysse was just going to steamroller him, and we actually got a fight of the year contender. So, if you get one of them from this Ortiz guy, I'll be very, very pleased. I'd love that, but when I think about it, do I expect to see a fight like that? Probably not, no.
Mm-hmm.
But hopefully I'm wrong. I've been wrong about Lucas Matthysse lots of times before. Ugh.
Well, we'll see. We'll definitely see. Ryan, what do you think?
Yeah, I don't think it'd be competitive. I think that Ortiz won't be as bad as people think he is. I bet he's a lot better than that. His record looks good, but we know that it isn't good because he hasn't beaten any quality opponents. And when you get to that stage where you've had 30 or 40 fights where you've only fought a handful of known journeymen, that it's because the guy's just not very good. Because if the guy was very good or was quite good, his promoters and his managers and all that wouldn't have let him fight 40 fights against guys who are there to just lose because you're not progressing at all. So we know that he's not going to be that good, but I bet he's still better than some people give him credit for. So I think it will last a few rounds, but I think Matthysse will knock him out, before halfway.
Mm. Actually, really good points there, Ryan. Actually, one of the things that I noticed is this could be a very similar type of fighter as to what's his name? I don't like him. What's that guy who fought Rios?
The
The overhyped fighter.
Alvarado or
yeah, Alvarado. He had 29 fights before he ever fought anyone worth fighting. So it might be similar to that, the way he's been brought up. What do you reckon, Chris? Do you reckon it'll be competitive?
I think, like Paul said something interesting earlier, it's hard to gauge with Lucas Matthysse. He's got such power. He's pretty much a one-dimensional fighter, Matthysse, but you expect him to outslug his opponents, and a little bit of an upset with John Molina, even though he won the fight. The fact he was in so much trouble against Molina, he struggled so much against him. So I can see this fight being quite entertaining. I can see Matthysse getting hit. I mean, pretty much anybody can get hit. He can be hit by anyone, Matthysse, really, but I'm expecting Ortiz to come forward, so I think it'll be interesting. I think, you've got to look at Ortiz's record and his ranking. He's ranked in the top 5. He's never really fought anybody, but his confidence should be high. He's never been beaten. I think he's only had a draw. So I expect it to be entertaining, but, the punch power of Matthysse is probably going to be a little bit too much for him at this stage in his career.
Yeah, I can agree with that. I can pretty much agree with that. We'll move on to the next question. Not that question. This question. So, what's everyone's prediction for this fight? Starting with Rory.
KO round. I think the young lad will probably have enough to survive the first 4 rounds. But, yeah, I can't see Matthysse letting it go past round 8.
Round 8, yeah. I can see that's a probably. I mean, what do you reckon, Paul?
Hopefully it'll be, as I said earlier on, we'll get a bit of a mini war out of it, and we'll see a lot of action. But I'm going to go for Matthysse to get the knockout, maybe in about round 8, something like that. But I'll tell you, I'll make this prediction as well. I wouldn't be surprised if Matthysse goes down, because he can be hurt. He went down in his last fight against that Molina. He was hurt badly by Garcia. And this guy's record, even though there's nobody on it, 24 knockouts in 31 wins, that suggests that he's got a bit of a decent punch. So, Matthysse, maybe if he gets a bit sloppy, Garcia can maybe drop him. But I still predict Matthysse to get the knockout eventually.
Maybe. It'd be very hard for Garcia to drop him, but maybe Ortiz could drop him.
Oh, I'm awfully sorry. Ortiz, I mean.
Okay, Ryan, what do you think?
Yeah, I think that taking into account his KO ratio and having not seen him fight, I imagine that he's a bit of a knockout puncher. So I imagine that he comes to fight, and because of that, I think Matthysse will deal with him quite easily. So I'm going about round 4 or 5 for Matthysse to win.
Mm-hmm. Connolly, what do you reckon, mate?
Yeah, I think Ortiz will have too much confidence in this fight. I think he'll probably look at Matysse's last few fights where he's been caught repeatedly, especially against Molina. So I think Ortiz is going to go forward, probably going to be a bit reckless, probably a little bit dirty, try rough up Matthysse, but I think that'll work against him. I expect Matthysse to blast him out inside 3.
Inside 3, yeah. I was going to say round 5. I think, like Chris said, he's going to be confident, he's going to come forward, he's going to believe in his own ability, believe in his 31 wins, and to me that's just going to be bringing the pitch into the cat. So that's what I think. Rory, we'll just quickly go on to this one, as we might as well, because I don't expect this to be competitive. Where does Matthysse go next?
Yeah, it's a stay busy fight. He needs to obviously step up then, and it's either going to be a title eliminator if he doesn't get a title shot. He probably deserves another crack at one of the titles at light welter. Yeah, I mean, I think we've all touched upon as well the fact that it is such a stay busy fight. It's a stepping stone to bigger and better things than this, and leading to another crack at a world title.
Mm-hmm. What do you reckon, Paul? Where does Matthysse go next?
If Matthysse wins, then I'd like to see him fight, a top 5 guy. I'd like to see him one of those big fights again. He definitely deserves another shot at the world title. He's not going to get one against Garcia, though, because I don't think Garcia will go near him again. Peterson definitely won't go near him again, because he got absolutely demolished last time. But I'd definitely like to see Matthysse try and force one of these champions' hands, because I definitely like to fighter. He definitely deserves a world title shot. And if he has to go the eliminator route, then so be it. And this Ortiz guy, get his name right this time. If he wins, then, he's probably put his name in the shop window, and he's probably set himself up for some big fights on Showtime or HBO or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's true. Ryan?
After this, I would say he should go for something like a Broner fight, which I think would be easy for him, or something like a Garcia rematch, because I thought the first one was competitive, or and also Garcia is the only real, big name at the weight now. I think the better names are up for division. Provodnikov would probably be my favourite fight, but he's with Golden Boy. He's with Top Rank, but then Top Rank's meant to be working with Golden Boy again soon, so who knows. So anyway, I'd say at that weight, Broner, Garcia, or Provodnikov.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they'll all be good fights. Conman, what do you reckon?
Yeah, I agree with Ryan, but I think if he wins this fight, he should be screaming from the rooftops to get Garcia. I think a lot of fight fans in America and outside America will put pressure on Garcia and his team to fight Matthysse again. Garcia's done absolutely nothing since fighting Matthysse. It was a controversial fight with Matthysse, the first one. I think the officials kind of screwed Matthysse in that fight. So if he wins this fight, he should be screaming for Garcia. And, fight fans should pretty much pressurise Danny Garcia into it. The guy he's a bit of a joke champion, in my opinion, Danny Garcia. He doesn't defend himself at all. So I think Matthysse, should he win, should definitely get Garcia.
Yeah, and there's another point. Garcia might not actually hold the titles. He might vacate the titles because he's a fat bastard, can't make the weight.
Well, I wouldn't be surprised with Danny Garcia, because he's no appetite to fight anyone decent anyway. He just wants an easy life as a world champion. He's an absolute joke.
That's right. But where do I see him going next? Maybe Provodnikov. That'd be a brilliant fight. That's a pay-per-view fight. That I'll pay to watch that. But more likely is he'll fight for a vacant title when Danny Garcia moves up. The other guy involved in the WBC is a guy called
Postal.
Going Postal. So that would be a very hard fight for Matthysse because Postal's tall, rangy, and he's not a bad fighter. He knocked out my man Selko Gaidin, so yeah. But that's what we think about this fight. It's not very good, but we're gonna watch it anyway. Tell us what you think about this fight, and tell us where you think Matthysse goes from here. Thank you.